I didn't even need to say anything. I'll let Steven explain himself.
I think it's a beautiful film to look at, and I think the score is really beautiful. But 15 seconds in, I know we're in trouble because of how fucking long it takes to get through those credits. That's just an indication of like what's wrong with this thing. Like it's just totally sleepy.
The year is 1995. It's interesting how much Soderbergh dismisses this film, and how much he puts the blame on himself for not really being there while filming. The irony is, in my opinion, The Underneath has much more imagination put into it than most other films made today, even if the end result doesn't work in the long run. Based on the novel Crisscross and its film noir adaptation, The Underneath was adapted by Soderbergh under the pseudonym Sam Lowry, which is a character name from the film Brazil. Cliff Martinez returns to provide the beautiful music, and Elliot Davis returns to photograph. For the first time, Soderbergh does not return to edit. Instead, their job goes to Stan Selfas, who would later go on to work with director Matt Reeves. The production designer is Howard Cummings, who would not work with Soderbergh again until Contagion and beyond. In terms of acting, Peter Gallagher returns from Sex, Lies and Videotape, David Jensen plays the satellite installation man, and Joe Crest returns as Mr. Rodman. Mike Malone, who was the on-set dresser on this and many other Soderbergh films, makes an appearance as the smoking man at the concert. And while I can't confirm this, I'm pretty sure that's Steven Soderbergh on the phone.
So what's the difference between doubtful and probable?
Doubtful means he probably won't play. Probable means he'll play, but there's some doubt.
Oh, that clears everything up.
The Underneath is presented out of order chronologically. It maintains a present timeline with moments of flashbacks and flash-forwards. The present day and flashback scenes are shot pretty much the same, while the flash-forwards are done more handheld with saturated colours. Speaking of colour, while he worked in black and white with Kafka, there's more experimentation of it in The Underneath. The film's opening is tinted green thanks to the truck windows. Night scenes are done in blue and black, while moments both in and out of the bar are done in red. And I might as well talk about the split diopters. While they were done more sparingly in King of the Hill, The Underneath really overuses it. The most infamous of which is the dinner scene where Soderbergh just employed them out of laziness. The Underneath marks the last time Soderbergh would ever employ them. Themes of luck and chance are scattered throughout the film. This is often presented via the lottery, gambling, and scratchies, or whatever you call them in America. It's presented throughout the film that Michael has a low sense of self-esteem, and the universe tends to agree. When Michael enters the club for the first time, he receives a sucker stamp given to him by Richard Linklater.
Good luck.
In another scene a few days later, Michael has a loser stamp on his hand. Here, once again, Soderbergh shoots in front of a television. In the next episode, I'll explain how this trademark is done with more poignancy. The hospital scene is where Soderbergh feels the film was at its most creative. The camera moves around at a dreamlike pace and there's a lot of slow fades. The room itself has a warped design, and all of this gives us a feeling of disorientation. While the scene continues as more characters come in, the room starts to straighten itself out, but at the same time the lighting and environment turn sinister. The final moment of this montage has the room being back to normal and the camera barely moving. In one take, Michael's brother talks directly at him, at us, about what he really thinks.
But because I think you're worthless. You've always been worthless.
As a final insult, The Underneath wasn't even critically well received, and Soderbergh found himself at the crossroads of creativity. So what did he decide to do?
I was so unhappy coming out of it that I decided I needed to radically alter my way of working. So in a way, I needed to, to borrow a phrase, I needed to bottom out in order to rebuild.